So welcome to Turkey Time Live. My name is Kirsten. I'm from Environmental Learning Centers of Connecticut. And today we have two of our turkeys that live down on Indian Rock Farm. And we're going to learn a little bit about turkeys, how they live, what they need to live, what we give them as farmers on our farm, and a little bit about their life history. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to meet our hen. A hen is a female turkey or a girl turkey. And we're going to learn a little about her, and then we will meet our Tom, which is the boy turkey. So as she's walking around, I want you just to take a look at her and see what you notice about her. So what you saw she was doing was she was eating. So she was having some apple. So that's a special treat that we give our turkeys. When they're doing programs, they think that it's really good. So this is Henrietta. Henrietta is about 2.5 years old. She is a bronze-breasted turkey. So if we take a look at her, you might have noticed as she was walking around that her whole body is covered in feathers. Turkeys are birds, so they have the same characteristics as other birds. So she has anywhere from 3,500 to 6,000 feathers. That's sort of the average for turkeys. She does have wings, so she may put her wings out at some point so we get to see them, but she does have wings. And then if we take a look at her head, you might have noticed that she was eating, and what she uses to eat is her beak. So right on the front of her head is her beak. That beak, she just picks stuff up with that beak. She doesn't actually chew her food. So turkeys have a gizzard, which is down further in their neck, and it has some sand and some little rocks in it. So when the food gets there, that's where their food gets ground up. Then also on her head, right behind her beak, you'll see there are two smaller openings. Those are her nostrils or her nose. And then if we go back from her nose, she has two eyes. So they do have very good vision, so they use that in order to stay safe, to find their food, avoid predators. And then right behind her eyes, she does have two small openings. They're covered with some feathers, and those are her ears. So her sense of sight and hearing are definitely two of her most important senses that she uses to avoid predators. The other thing you might notice on her head is right between her two eyes, just above her nose. That is her snood. So it just looks like a little point, okay, kind of like a little horn. Okay, and we'll see how our Tom's snood looks compared to hers when we let him out in a few minutes. Then underneath her neck, this flap of skin here, this is called her wattle. And it's just a decoration. It doesn't really have a purpose other than just to be decorative on her. And then if we go down on our turkey, they do stand on legs, so they have two legs, and on each of their legs they have 4 toes. So they have 3 long toes in front, and then they have a shorter toe in back. And the reason that they have those 4 toes is wild turkeys can actually fly, so they, in order to stay safe at night, they sleep up in trees. So in order to get up in the tree, they'll fly up with their wings, and then they'll actually land on a branch. And they need to be able to hold on to that branch. So they'll use their 3 longer toes in front and their 1 shorter toe in back in order to hold on to that branch while they're sleeping. So that's it for Henrietta. So we're going to let her go back into her cage, and we'll take a closer look at some of the feathers and find out a little bit more about what turkeys eat. So we said that turkeys' bodies were covered in feathers, that they had between 3,500 and 6,000 feathers. The largest of those feathers is this feather. This is a tail feather. So the turkeys use this primarily for balance and also for display. So the hen tends to keep their tail feathers down, but the tom, when we let him out, you're going to see that he displays his tail feathers. And he'll put them up in a nice big fan behind him. So that is a tail feather, and they are uniform on both sides. Compared to, if we look at this feather, this is actually one of their wing feathers. Okay, so this one you'll notice is really long on one side and really short on the other side. So this is used when they're flying, so this helps to give them some lift to get them off the ground. So that is their wing feather. It's also a much stiffer feather, which makes sense since it's being used to fly. And then most of their feathers are this type of feather. So this type of feather is what we find all over the rest of the body of the turkey. So this feather, the top part of it is very smooth. If you hold it in the light, you'll actually notice they are a little bit iridescent. So they have a little bit of like a greenish or a copper color to them. So they do have a little bit of oil on them. So the purpose of this part of the feather is to act like a raincoat to the turkey. So this helps to keep the turkey dry. And then the bottom part of the feather, that's very fuzzy looking. Okay, that is what helps to keep our turkeys warm. So in the fall, the turkeys will molt, so they will get rid of most of their old feathers, and then they grow new feathers to make sure that their feathers are the fluffiest, the fullest that they can be for the winter, because their job is to keep our turkeys warm. Our turkeys, they live on a farm, so they can go inside at night, so they don't have to be outside all the time like a wild turkey. But during the day, they have that option of being outside, and most of the time they do choose to be outside. So those are all the feathers on our turkeys. Another thing that the turkeys need, other than to stay warm and dry, that they can do on their own, is they need to eat. So our turkeys living on a farm, they just eat some ground up corn in the form of pellets. So this they have access to all the time. In addition to this, they also have access to water all the time. So food and water are definitely two of the most important things that our turkeys need. So this is what they generally eat. But if you're a wild turkey, nobody's going to be giving you food every single day. So the wild turkeys instead, they typically eat things like seeds and nuts and berries, and then they will also dig in the ground in order to find bugs. So they have a little bit more of a varied diet than what our turkeys living on the farm do. And then being a bird, they also do lay eggs. So this is the egg that you guys are probably more familiar with. So this is a chicken egg. If you go to the grocery store, if you eat eggs, this is going to be the size egg that you would typically be getting. This one's greenish in color, so this is from one of our chickens here on the farm. Typically, if you go to the store to buy them, you'll find either white or brown. But the eggs can come in lots of other colors as well. So that's our chicken egg. And then this one is our turkey egg. Okay, so the turkey eggs are much larger than the chicken eggs, which makes sense because turkeys themselves are much larger than chickens. These do taste the same as a chicken egg, or very similar. They look the same on the inside, but the reason that you don't find turkey eggs at the store is because turkeys themselves take up more space. They don't lay as many eggs, so they're not used commercially to produce eggs like chickens are. And then our turkeys have been being pretty quiet here today during the program. But turkeys do make different noises, so they use noise in order to communicate with each other. So the hen sounds a little bit different from our tom. So this is what the hen sounds like. So it's kind of a squeaky sound. The tom sounds more like what we typically think of a turkey saying. So he has more of that typical gobble sound. So that's what our tom sounds like. So we're going to let our tom out. And as he walks around, I want you to see what you notice about him. What's the same and what's different compared to our hen? So if we take a look at our Tom, you'll see that he's behaving very differently than the hen. She was very interested in food. He's more interested in making himself look big and impressive. So she had all of her feathers down, which made her look much smaller. He has all of his feathers standing straight up, which makes him look much larger. He is about twice as large as she is. So a wild turkey hen averages about 8 to 15 pounds, and a wild turkey Tom will be about 15 to 25 pounds. And ours are probably pretty similar to that as well. But he has all his feathers up, which is what's making him look much, much larger than that. So the Tom's put on a display. So that's what he's doing by putting all his feathers up. They will also drum. So they'll vibrate their feathers, and it makes sort of a drumming or a thumping sound when he does that. So that's part of how he will also display. And then if we look at his head, you'll notice some differences compared to our hen. So over his beak, okay, which is right here, so he does have a beak, but hanging over the front of his beak is his snood. So if you remember when we saw the snood on the hen, it was very short, okay, but his is much, much longer. He can retract it or pull it up so it's shorter, but he generally has it hanging down over his beak. Okay, so he has a very large snood. Okay, his beak is right underneath. Okay, it's very similar. It's a little bit bigger because he's a little bit bigger, but otherwise it's very similar to the hen's beak. The other things that you'll notice on him, he does have a very large wattle compared to the hen, so he has a larger wattle. And then if we look at his neck, you'll notice it's much more colorful than the hen's was. And it has all of these bumps of skin on it. So those bumps are called the caruncles. So those actually change color. So they can give us an idea about how our turkey is feeling. So if they are red, it means that our turkey is happy. If they turn blue or white, then it means the turkey is either a little bit unsure, a little bit scared. Okay, so, and they change color pretty much instantly. So if you look at a turkey and they're red, probably means they're happy. If they're white or blue, a little bit unsure or angry about something. The other big difference on the Toms is they have on the front of them a beard. So it looks kind of like hair, okay, but it is actually still made of feathers. They're just different feathers than what's on the rest of the body of the turkey. And their beard continues to grow. So as our turkey gets older, his beard will get longer. Again, he's about 2.5 years old, so he still has a fairly short beard, but eventually his beard will reach all the way down to the ground. And the other main difference on the Toms is if we look at his legs, he has the same 4 toes, but then partway up his leg, he has another bump, okay? And that's called his spur. And the Tom turkeys will use that. They are territorial. They don't like to share their space with another Tom turkey. So they will use that spur in order to sort of defend their territory and protect it from the other males. So that is our Tom. So we'll let him walk around for a minute. We'll see if we can get him to drum. And you'll notice as he's walking around, he has all of his wing feathers down. So those are the black and white striped feathers. He has all his tail feathers up. So those are the ones that have the white tips on them. And then the rest of his feathers are the ones that I showed you that have the very soft, fuzzy bottom part that's helping to keep our turkey warm. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit more about our turkeys today. And thank you for tuning in to Turkey Time.